Serial number? Who's starting?
It's been so incredible to watch the other videos.
To watch what?
To watch the other videos. I mean, I can't even tell you, like right before this were like all the forces to try to get me to cancel. And I was like, it's just so huge. Just listening to like yesterday, Rabbi Sutton, and Monday, Rabbi Nut, and I'm just like, no, and that's how I knew those forces were just there for me to say no. Because I was like, everything's trying to interrupt us. Oh, hi, Miriam. It's great to see you. I'm looking at the chat.
Yeah. One of the problems with this is maybe the only problem with the format is that the calls are so intense, and most of the days are 3 a day. So
I don't know how. And they're hours. So just listening to one. I was driving yesterday listening to part of your discussion with Rabbi Sutton, who, I mean, he's my Rav. He's had such a huge influence on my life, and like, it is like really groundbreaking for me. Like, I don't know how to describe it. You could see I was like super emotional. I told myself I should grab tissues before this, and I didn't. But to be speaking like at the same event is like, I'm just telling you right now, Shifra, like, I don't really know how to process that. I've never had an experience. I've never been nervous before speaking. And I've been on stages with like US presidents. Like, this does not.
Really? I want to know about that. Can we talk about that?
It's totally random, unimportant. Like, and it's just like, this I was nervous about. I've never been nervous in my life. I've been speaking since I was a little girl. And I was like, yeah, like, I mean, these are like my people that I learned everything from, that guided me, that like, and I'm just telling those who are like just joining, like, we haven't even started yet. I'm just telling you guys where I'm at right now before we've even gotten into it. Yeah. But yeah, so I was just listening to him while I was driving yesterday. I was like, oh, I feel so alive.
Yeah.
Just listening to that conversation, I felt so alive. And I was like, what you are doing right now is this is just so, I could just feel it. Like, this is so important. So when we're doing something really important for the world and for mankind, all these other forces try to get in the way. So there was a lot right before this. And I was like, oh, I guess we're on to something good.
People say that. Somebody else said that. Who said that? Maybe Rabbi Trugman said that earlier. It came up. Yeah, I think it was today. This is the second time, or maybe it was yesterday, that somebody said that.
Yeah.
And it's true that it works like that sometimes. It's even a principle, but whoever was it, I'm losing track, but whoever said it before, I wanted to say something and I didn't because the timing, whatever. My experience is that it is often true when you're ready to do something that's a new level, that things will come up in the way. And I guess it's to make sure that we ground our roots in the intention and the power and the light and all, before we launch. But it's also my experience that when we lean in to that new way and just don't look back, like, don't worry about how it works. Don't worry about if it's perfect. Don't worry about, just move forward, grow, move forward, grow, that a lot of the obstacles disappear. And the reason that I'm saying that is I don't want anybody to think that stepping up means that now you're going to have all that. I know that there's a lot of fear around whatever that means for each person, whether it's stepping up a new level in the way that you take care of your body, or stepping up and, creating something like the presenters here. But it isn't always, you're not always fighting. It's like, it works more like,
yes,
intention, block, breakthrough, flow.
Yes.
And then, maybe the flow will slow down, or you'll be at a plateau, and you'll say, what else? Like Rabbi Trugman was saying, that he's at he feels like he's at a spiritual plateau and he's got to break through it. So it's always like that. We always have to go to a new level, and it always seems to require some level of facing ourselves. And
we're going to talk about that.
Yeah. Okay, good. Being confronted by the previous limitations or the old structure, or breaking it down. I mean, we're seeing it in the world. I don't want to wax eloquent because I don't want to waste the time, but I just want everybody to know that, it's not, there's a rhythm to this.
Yes.
There's cycles to this, and you become Sorry, go ahead.
It's not just like unending. And if you have the focus that you just said, which is just like being grounded. That's key. That's like my first key. And the other thing that I find is so key in getting to those moments is just calling it out for what it is. Like just saying, oh, this is one of those things right now that is, oh, it's just another stage in the process. And when you just acknowledge, like, I'm going to break through, I'm going to get to the other side. I get to, it just dissipates so much. We use that in the body work as well. So yeah.
Okay. So the perfect segue or perfect introduction. All right. So I'm just going to be candid that Kaylee and I had a very, very brief discussion just shortly before this call, and I'm going to let her introduce rather than, let me introduce her. Then I'll let her introduce the topic. Oh my gosh.
Well, you've been going nonstop, so it's very high heights. It's a lot of light.
Yeah, it is a lot of light. I apologize. I don't even hear. I operate off a Word document for people's bios and stuff, and I had closed it. Yeah, I think more than usual, I'm just letting my own energy, or something is letting my energy just shift. So it's interesting because in the last call, I had to slow things down. I found that I was not able to process whatever was happening on right below the surface of my awareness. So I found myself not like usually I feel quite focused and sharp. And my energy was kept getting pulled in. And now that seems to have shifted again. Maybe I had, the 45-minute break. I don't know. Anyway, Kaylee Zeitouni Hernandez. We have to change your name. You just got married to a wonderful man. Is a unique soul who came to this world with a special ability to impact others from a very young age. Unlike, your journey is so different from mine, Kaylee, because I came to my whatever level of power I'm at right now, starting when I was already past very young age. I wandered around for a long time feeling lost and disempowered.
Wow.
So having been diagnosed with MS at age 12, much of her life revolved around illness. Likewise, much of her work revolves around healing, just seems to work like that. So our story of disempowerment ends up being our story of empowering others. That's really the design. So wherever you're disempowered, I'm sorry, I can't help speaking to the audience, to the community. Whenever you feel disempowered, just know that your work around this is your purpose and will allow you to bring that forth into the world for others in all kinds of ways. Today, Kaylee's been symptom-free for over 10 years from MS, thanks to God and mind-body medicine. She's an illness recovery coach, and she guides people through transformative journeys, like we already began to discuss, using mind-body healing techniques so that they can experience long-lasting relief from symptoms of chronic illness. The biggest turning point in her life was when her previous fiance died. Lucia, becoming whole through her grief process shaped her core mission to inspire others to live well and nurture their souls. She does this in a bunch of roles: marriage and family therapist, best-selling author, speaker, podcast host, coach, and healer. Okay, so that's the official word about Kaylee. And Kaylee, welcome. Kaylee's energy is very, very alive. And like me, she's on a quest, and like me and all the speakers, I guess, but in a particular way, very sensitive to what's flowing underneath the surface, moving in, moving out. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Kaylee, to set the foundation for this conversation.
Chana, thank you so much. And just to kind of go a little bit more on what we were saying before, just like, this just feels so important. And I just want to be I'm just going to just be super vulnerable and authentic with everyone here. Like, as I said, I'm having such a different experience in this space than I've ever had before speaking, much bigger audiences. And, part of it is, the other incredible speakers on the summit. Part of it is, Shifra, what you are creating is so crucial and so important. And so what I want to just kind of reflect is like, being in this space, I think it requires a really important, intense practice of like just a constant getting out of the way. Oh, we're here for this really important thing called redemption, called Geula. Like, we're here to help prepare mankind for the future, which is now. It's a really big thing. And so there is no space for ego and fear and anxiety. And I'm just being honest, it's all there right now. So that's going to be my practice right now. And I'm going to share things that might also create that kind of feeling in some people in our audience. So what I want to encourage is that Asher was like, oh, she's going for it.
Gotta be disruptors. We've got to be disruptors now because whatever's erupting has to be dissed. It's just not working.
I'm all there. I was like, wow, we really could have made the title of this like way more intense. We're going to get into it. So what I really want to recommend to others is like, be in this practice with me right now, because I'm in the practice of knowing something so important is happening right now that I have to get out of my own way. Try to just listen without the intellect getting in the way, because I'm going to say things that you may have never heard before. We're going to talk about things that might really come up against your own feelings, your own beingness, and try to just be in the like, well, what if that's true? What if of it all? Because it is true, and it's so crucial. And if you can let yourself feel it, you'll feel it as true rather than come up against it. And that'll just be like a shame and a waste, you know? So I'm going to encourage you to do that. I'm going to be in that practice also right now. So we're in this together, guys. Okay. And before I jump in, I just want to say that I want to do this for the full and complete refuah of Yitzchak ben Odette ve'Rachamim. And we're here to talk about healing. So let's open that up, right?
Amen. Refuah shlema.
Amen. Amen. Okay. So we have a couple of interesting statements that we're going to start with, and I think only at the end we'll even be given to understand. So the Lubavitcher Rebbe describes how in our time, right now, where we are right now, okay, people are going to start experiencing spontaneous healing, which is really interesting. And we're going to talk later about why that's so significant. But the way I first learned that was like, it's almost like random if you hear it. Oh yeah, people are just going to start spontaneous healing. Oh, okay. Okay, it's not random. And that's what we're going to figure out today, that it's not random, that we have to actually go after it, that we have to create it. The more that we create it, then it'll be spontaneous. Then it's just going to happen. So how do we start that process so that then it just becomes spontaneous? At the same time, I want to tell you spontaneous healing is happening all over the world. If you go into a room of medical professionals and you say, have any of you seen spontaneous healing? Most of them will raise their hands. If you ask them if they've written a paper on it, 2 hands go up. Like, I have heard this multiple times. Okay.
What spontaneous healing, just define it quickly. And then
meaning someone gets a diagnosis and might come back the next time for starting their treatment and everything's fine, or maybe lived with something for decades. And then, I don't know, within a few months period, everything goes away. And it's inexplainable and doesn't make sense, right? Now, I'm going to tell you why it makes perfect sense, but just understand that the Rebbe told us this is just normal. This will be normal, okay? Now, how does it become normal? By us participating in the process of healing, which we're going to talk about is really like our birthright. It's why we came. It's actually why we get sick is in order to heal, okay? Which is, by the way, the first time I've ever said that sentence live on any or recorded. So we're going there Shifra Chana. Yeah. You brought
it's
me
not
there.
The last time.
No, it's not the last time, because like I'm sick of like tiptoeing around it. Like, we're just gonna say you got sick in order to heal it. Let's just be real. We're gonna go there today. Okay. The other thing I want to start with is that the Ari who brought down a lot of our ability to interact with and understand Kabbalah. I just want to like try to also understand that we have like a huge variety of people on today. So I'm going to do my best to like explain concepts as I go. So the Ari said that in the time of the full and complete revealed Geula, redemption, that the highest way that we are going to experience God is through the body. Which is pretty mind-blowing, because we think of the body as like our animal drives. Like, I'm hungry, I want sleep, I want sex, like that's what it's just in drives. And for him to say that is pretty profound. So in the time of the complete revealed Geula, when we live in a state of total God consciousness, the way that I will feel God the most and be closest to God is through the body. Okay, so I want to start there because then I think at the end, these statements are going to make so much more sense. Okay. And these statements are what got me just going like, I need to know everything about this. Okay. And that was after I went on my own healing journey, which we'll also talk about later, but that's not what we're here for today. We're here to talk about everybody else. Okay. So first of all, what's so interesting to me about what the Rebbe shares is that he even comments on healing, because according to the Torah, sickness is not a negative thing. Illness is not a negative thing. The first example of illness, and it's actually my husband who taught me this. It totally blew my mind. He's way more of an expert in this, by the way, than I am. So cool. So the first example is Yaakov. He asks for sickness because he wanted more time. He wanted to be able to say goodbye to his children. So it used to be that when someone died, and it literally says this in Bereshit, that you would just sneeze and die. And Jacob wanted more time. He wanted time to say goodbye to his children. So he asked for sickness so that his time towards death would be slowed down and he would know, and then he would have time. Okay. So Torah does not approach this as saying this is a negative thing. This is a bad thing. Of course, we're always praying for health. So what is that like? We have to really be able to hold both pieces, but we always want to be healthy. Yes, you do. And also it doesn't mean that sickness is necessarily bad. Okay. So we're holding these pieces so far. Okay. I know it's a lot. Bear with me. Are you guys with me? Okay. So the next thing I want to talk about is Moshe. Okay. So Moses, who took us out of Egypt, who basically brought us to the first Geula, the first redemption, okay, took us out of slavery into freedom. There's like so much to say. There are 72 names of God, okay, 72 names of God throughout the Torah. Each one has different meaning. Each one has different depth. The one that uses the exact same letters as Moshe, okay, and the letters, the name is Mem, He, Shin. These are Hebrew letters, okay, which is the same letters as Moshe, just turned around, is for healing. So if we really sit with that, healing is really a process of redemption. It's a process of coming out of slavery, which for anyone living with illness is really, really hard to even look at or accept. And I'm putting myself in that boat with all of you, okay, with all of us. I was there. I was sick for 18 years. So I'm not coming at a place of like, yeah, you're going to come into freedom. I get the reality of it. It is hard. Okay. But this is objectively what we are learning from Torah and what we are told from the prophets. Hello, the prophet Moshe, that the process of healing, the process of going through sickness, healing is actually freedom. It's a connection to God. It brings us out of Egypt. Okay. Now, those who've gone on the journey to healing will tell you that. And they're not telling you that because, yeah, now I'm free in the sense that like I have my physical abilities. Trust me, that is incredible. But what's actually coming with that freedom is a beingness, a connection to self, the space for God in your own body, which is what the process of healing is. Okay, that is the process of healing. And so today we said we were going to talk about holographic healing, which we will talk about. Okay. But the very, very first premise of understanding healing is we have to understand the human body in a totally different way than we think. We're walking around, I'm eating, I'm thirsty, I need sleep, all of these pieces, right? So when I hurt, it's because there's something physically wrong. If I'm in pain, there's something physically wrong. If there's illness, that must be a bad thing. Something's wrong. All it is a lack of alignment, a lack of ease, right? Dis-ease. Okay. And we are these energetic beings, we're batteries, and we have a lot of mechanisms that need to be aligned at once, not just with ourselves, but with God. So I want to just show you guys, I'm sure someone this week has already done this, but just so that you can understand. So I'm trying to share the screen, Shifra, and it's telling me.
David, can you enable the screen sharing?
Thank you. I just want to show everyone the sphirot and how they relate, which is like really energy centers on the body. So before, like, while we're waiting for that to work, oh, there we go. Very cool. Very, very cool. Here we go. Oh, that's the wrong document. One second. I want the one with the pictures.
I like the picture behind you. Very captivating.
Thanks. That's actually Adam's.
Oh, wow.
That's one of his originals. That's the one we have a bunch of prints in the house. He's an artist, but that's the only original we have in the house. So yeah, he was very excited to set up my office. It's awesome to have an artist as a husband. Okay, so let's look at this. I just need to move the controls here so that I can actually zoom out. We have a big one of this on the wall, but that wasn't going to work on the screen. I don't really know how to zoom out. Okay, so we're just going to scroll. Okay.
Is your screen maximized?
Yes. Maybe not. Oh yeah, it was. Hang on. Okay. So this is the human body. Okay, so we've got almost all of it here. Now, Kabbalah tells us that this is how the world was created, with these energy centers. This model, okay, is the model of the entire universe. This is also the model of each human being. So we each have these energy centers, and they really all connect with these energies, right? And so I didn't know this when I was going through my own healing process. Like, I knew about the sefirot, I kind of knew they mapped on the body, but I didn't really understand the depth of that. Today, it's so much easier for me to use this model because someone tells me something's going on with their right hand or their left knee. I can pretty much describe their life to them. Okay. And they always freak out. Oh my gosh, you're so intuitive. How do you know that? Like, there's a map. It's a map. We have a system. Like, we've been given a system. Let's use the system. Now, what's important about this is not for you to sit at home and analyze, wait, so what does that mean? My right ear? What? Okay. You could do that later. It's very cool when you really get into it. But what's important to understand is that as energetic beings, we need to keep, you guys can see my mouse when I move my mouse?
Yeah.
Okay. We need to keep all of these channels open. Okay. We are energetic beings. We need to keep all of these channels open so that energy can be flowing through so that we are always in balance. Okay. That's the key. And guess what? The whole world needs that too. So when I can clear and keep clear the channel between tiferet, between beauty, not the best translation, but okay, and chokhmah, wisdom, I help clear that also universally. Okay, I help create more opening for the person next to me to also clear that. Okay, so that's where it kind of comes this hologram. But let's just start just with the individual for now. Yeah,
could I just give a possible translation of Tiferet? Just
to help.
The way I'm seeing it in this diagram is a peaceful decision of the heart, a peaceful, balanced decision of the heart, because Tiferet is where it's the center of the emotions that brings together all of the imbalance and in a blend, in the perfect blend. That's why it's called beauty, because beauty comes from the perfect blend of colors or shades or notes or whatever.
That is so beautiful. That is so beautiful. And the other thing that you're just so correct about, Shifra, is like, if you guys think about this for a second for yourselves, I'm figuring out the Zoom here as we do this. If you guys think about this for yourselves, all of us experience this. All of us experience this before something turns into a symptom of dis-ease. Okay. All of us experience this. I really want to give, I really want to show up. Oh my gosh, I'm exhausted. There's too much to handle. I can't handle all of it, but I really need a boundary, but I don't want that person to stop. I don't want to be rejected. I don't want them to think I don't love them. We are always in between Gevurah and Chesed. That is the one we're always the most aware of. And Tiferet says, you are so beautiful when you find the center. You are so beautiful when you can balance these two, because then you get to experience life and what life is all about, right? Is being in balance with these two. We want to master them. And when we master them, we also keep that energy flowing, that energy open. Okay. So I love that you shared that, because that's such a good example. Again, all of us are experiencing this. We all know that. We all know we like sometimes overanalyze something, and other times we feel into things. This is right here. When I make a decision, am I making a pro-con list? Am I trusting my intuition? Right. So we all have these parts of us. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing for a second because it's so much easier for me to speak when I can like see you. Okay. So what does this have to do with healing? Why is this so important? When we understand that we're energetic beings, okay, we need to learn, we need to know how the system works. Okay. So cool that like when I first got my driver's license, my dad said, you can't drive the car yet. Like, what do you mean? I finally have a driver's license. He walked me out to the driveway and he was like, you need to learn how an engine runs. You're not getting in this car without knowing how it runs. Now, the rest of us were given bodies. We didn't have the manual, okay? Or we didn't think we had the manual, but the Torah gives us the manual. And so what happens is when something is a little bit off, right? When we need an oil change, yesterday our battery died, we thought our battery died. No, just one of the bolts just had to be tightened. So we look at illness as disease, as this horrible, terrible thing. But what's actually happening is one of those pieces is experiencing a block. And the body is speaking to us and communicating to us and saying, can you work on this? I really need help in this area. And when we work on that, in order to work on that, one of the tools we use, and I'll talk about how that happens in a moment, there's so much to say. When we work on that and we create that flow, we then get closer to God. We realign the body. We create more space for the divine and for the soul in the body. And from that perspective, healing is one of the most amazing things you could do. And it's what we're supposed to do. And from that perspective, sickness is not bad. It's an invitation and an opportunity to come close to God. The Mittler Rebbe says, and this totally blew my mind when I learned this. It was also just random. I just picked up a book and opened it. I was like, oh, of course it's the page of healing, right? The Mittler Rebbe says that the experience of illness in someone's life is one of the most compassionate things that God can give us. And he even says like that, like, I understand that sounds like ridiculous to say because anybody living, suffering and miserable would hate to hear that. And he says, but that's because the process of living through sickness and the process of healing takes you closer to God and allows you to have a closer relationship with God. And I'm not saying this from the perspective of what most people do today when they think they're being spiritual or when they think they're being positive and optimistic of like, well, I'm sure you're going to see the meaning of this one day, or everything happens for a reason. That's cute. That's sweet. That's not what I'm talking about. Okay. I'm talking about a deep internal transformative process that actually changes the flow of energy in your body so that you are experiencing God. Okay. So I want to get into more detail. I know I'm speaking a lot and then we'll totally open it to questions and talk this out. I'm not used to this. I told Shifra before we started today, I'm so used to just like flowing and being in it and like being in conversation with all of you. But it's such a huge topic. And I want us to think about it in a totally new way before we really kind of get into conversation about it. So I'm just looking at my notes here because of course I wrote them in a totally different order than this is happening, but it's kind of just flowing. It's making sense to me right now. So when we think about something like, okay, let's first think like this. The word for bad in Torah, which is not really bad, is ra. It doesn't mean bad. It means misaligned. It means misaligned. Okay. And when we talk about mind body healing, we talk about getting the mind and body into alignment, mind, body, and soul into alignment. That's what we want. We want alignment. Okay. So what are we aligning with? What are we getting aligned to? And you want to get aligned to that system, to the truth of the entire universe, and to the truth of God and godliness and God consciousness. That's what we want to get aligned to. Now, anybody who comes to me because they're in physical pain, I don't tell them this, okay? We're having this conversation. We're being super raw, being super open. Someone wants to work with me. I don't say this. I say, yeah, let's get you relief. There are tools. We can teach you the tools. They're scientifically backed. They're Torah backed. We can teach you the tools to heal. We can't do that. When they're on the other side of it, then they know, and they will all share this with you, that it's an experience of becoming. It's an experience of finding a whole new way of being, of finding the soul within you, of realizing that you're a soul. So now that I know that, so I have to reverse engineer it to get people there. But we're just talking openly, and I'm telling you, this is how it works. Okay. And when we think about Ra being misaligned, what gets us into alignment with God? The mitzvot, the commandments, right? I don't like the word commandment because the word tzav is connection. So the more I can stay in connection, the easier it is on the body. When the body doesn't feel that connection, it's very hard. And I know people are going to say, but I'm so connected, but I pray, but I this, but I do all these things. It's about being connected to you, to your truth, who is inside of you. As Rabbi Sutton shared yesterday, he said, every time that there were double names, Moshe, Moshe, Abraham, Abraham, we have different parts of ourselves. And even God is acknowledging that. I want that other part of you. I need the higher version of you. You didn't come here to worry about the bills and to freak out over rent and to all of these pieces. I need to be in connection with you, which means I need you to know that you are walking as this energetic being with all of these channels, and to spend time on them and to spend time with them and keep the channels open and keep the channels flowing. Okay. And when you keep the channels flowing, by the way, you create a shift in the way that channel works in the upper world, which is so insanely cool. So when we heal, when we go through healing processes, even just like being with a moment of pain and reducing it from, let's say, a level 10 pain to a level 5 pain, even that reduction makes it easier for the person next to you to also access that. And it literally changes the universe. It changes the cosmos. So we are here to heal, A, because that brings us closer to God, and B, because the whole world changes as a result. The more we do it, the better we get at it, right? Didn't I just say that if I do it, then it's easier for my neighbor to do it, and how much easier when they do it for their neighbor to do it? Then the more you do it, the quicker it's going to get. And then what's going to happen? We're going to have spontaneous healing. You're not going to have to sit. It took me years. Okay. It took me years of intense focus and attention and pain and suffering and facing myself. Right. Because it goes into the nitty gritty. I just want to give people like an example. What does that mean? Facing myself? What does that mean? Coming closer to God? How are you saying that when I'm doing all of these things all day long, or I'm reading Psalms all day long? Right. What that means is, just as an example, right? I was like a super giver. Go, 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 go. People pleaser, always seeking approval. Okay. Illness forced me to stop. Essentially, like when I was really, really sick, I couldn't show up for others. That wasn't an option. Like I was in bed. I was physically unable to do that thing. Right. So that was it was an easy way to suddenly have a boundary. It was an easy way to say, okay, now I can take care of myself and I have a boundary. I'm really sorry I can't make it. I'm really sorry I can't do the million things you just asked me to do and go out of my way. I'm sick. So I had to learn, what would it be like to say, I can't do it. I'm really sorry I'm not going to make it, without that second half of the sentence, because I'm sick. Just, I'm not going to make it. That's it. Just like leave it like that, which was a really intense internal practice. It was terrifying. It was painful. It was hard. What do you get as you go through that is knowing, oh, I'm divine. Oh,
wait, Kaylee, why did you just, I'm missing a piece. What took you from using that logical excuse to a valid excuse, reason, to just not mentioning the reason?
Because I wanted to, because every time you say you're sick, the body creates that. Our cells create that. Thank you for asking that. Our cells create that. Our cells vibrate according to our words. We know that. We can show that under a microscope. Also, your body is a living, breathing thing separate from you, with its own consciousness, that came into this reality with you to help you during this lifetime. Okay. And so it also wants to please you, make you happy, be aligned with what you're asking. So if I say I'm sick, the body goes, oh, okay, let's align to that. Okay, I can do that. And it's got the cellular structure of sick. So every time I say it, I'm creating it. I knew that. Okay. So even though I didn't know the God part, I knew every time I say this, I'm creating more illness. I have to stop saying it, which was really hard because that took a lot more courage.
Right.
To just say, I'm not going to make it.
I get it.
To call my office, to call my boss and say, I'm not coming in today without an excuse. Like that takes a lot of courage, especially in today's day and age, right? Like come up with something, right? So when you say that, so that got really, really hard. And in the process of facing that challenge on a regular basis, because I was pretty unwell, right? In the process of facing on a pretty regular basis, I, at the same time, was doing other practices to build my sense of self. And the more you build your sense of self, you begin to realize you are always whole and you are pure love. You are created of the divine, with the divine. The divine lives in you. And so if God didn't do something the way that you liked that day, you don't get like an I'm sorry note. You get like a figure it out note. Like, okay, I just didn't show up. You'll figure it out. And guess what? Your friends and family will also figure it out when you just don't show up. They will. They'll figure it out. It will be okay. The world is not going to come crashing down. And the more you learn that, the more you see the more you practice it, again, it's hard, but as you practice it, you start to realize, oh, I'm still taken care of. I'm actually feeling good. I still don't want to go. I don't want to show up at the party or the thing or the event. I thought I did, but really I thought I did just because I thought I was missing out. Now I don't want to go because I just want to go live my life and be healthy and happy, right? So we have to create space for the divine to come into us, but that takes being with each of these practices, each of these traits. And then the more I'm able to balance that trait between setting the boundary and being the people pleaser, right? The more I'm balancing those pieces, this channel completely opens up. As this channel completely opens up, right? Which is the right and the left, the chesed and the gevura, then my heart has more space. There's not all the stagnation here. Then also Tiferet has a bunch more space, which is down here in the center, right? So like just before just below the rib cage, actually like right at the bottom there. So all of that's mapping onto me. All new energy is flowing. There's a lot more space. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you focus and like manage all your sphero, you're suddenly going to be healthy. You might, totally possible. But I want you to understand that just conceptually that we came to heal because this is the system you were created with. So when illness comes up, it's literally an invitation for us to connect with ourselves and the God within us. And that when we do that, we actually make cosmic change. So when we come into alignment, okay, we return to our true selves. We get into alignment with our true selves, which we like to call teshuvah. What else is teshuvah? Right? Is teshuv hey, is to return the hey, is to return the hey, one of the letters of Hashem's name, of God's name, okay? Return one of the letters of God's name back to its name, back into the supernal world. So we're always dealing with what happens in me as a reflection also in the supernal being, okay? And we're actually restoring the kind of the cosmic balance in a way. So again, I know it's a really big concept, okay? But again, I'm just going to reiterate this, that the whole reason it comes is for us to be in that relationship, is for us to heal it. Not saying it's easy. It can be easy. It absolutely can be easy. And we're creating more space. And it's what everyone is telling us we came here for, right? Why would the RE say that in the time of complete God consciousness in the world, the way you will experience God the most is through your body? What? How does that? Oh, because when I feel something in my shoulder, that's actually communication from my soul, which is divine, right? So now when I really can understand to focus on it, it's like, oh, that's what it's telling me, which by the way, like through my healing journey, I got to that stage where I could feel something in my hand, in my finger, and I know exactly what it was communicating in that moment. It took time to learn that. Okay. And everybody's different. I'll just share that. Like I do a course, and in our last course, we had 2 people experience spontaneous healing. They just went from having an entire life of pain to not being in pain. So
do you mind sharing what they were healing from?
One of them, I'm not going to share just because it could be a confidentiality issue. Okay. The other, he's really happy to share, and he made a video about it and everything, but he had severe heart issues and blood pressure, and he spent years and millions of dollars trying to heal and trying to find answers. and took this 10-week course and healed. And this is not someone who like, he knew that a lot of this was based on Torah. He's Muslim. So I told him in advance, just so you know, this is what you're getting into. And he was like, great. But so it's a totally new perspective for him. And it's because it works because it's about a process of becoming. You are human beings. We are human beings. And we have to create space for the God in us. And when we do that, we actually impact the cosmos above. It creates, we're directly connecting with that part of the supernal being. It's happening at the same time, right? And it all comes back to when we talk about, I'm just going to open this so I have it in front of me. It all comes back to, I think, I mean, this is just my own take on it. Okay. I didn't read this anywhere, but it comes back to, from my perspective, to this verse in Mishle in Proverbs, which is Kamaim hapanim lapanim ken lev ha'adam la'adam. As we face the water, what?
No, I didn't realize you were going to translate. Go ahead. Yeah, I said translate.
Well, no, you will probably have a better translation.
No, just it's translated.
Okay, so as our face, like as we see the own mirror, the own reflection of our face in water, the same as man to man, right? The heart of one man to another, the heart of one man to another. So we see that in each other. Now it doesn't say, it says Adam le'adam, lev le'adam, but throughout Torah, in so many sources, we know that when we say that, we're many times referring to the supernal man, the supernal being. So we're reflecting that in each other, and we're reflecting that universally, cosmically as well. Yeah, go ahead.
You know what? I never put together that verse with what you just said. That's really important. I want to make sure everybody understands this quote. Who understands the quote? I figured it out
last week. Here, I have it in front of me.
No, it's 100% true. And there are other sources from the Rebbe for it, but I didn't put it together. Basically, it's.
I wonder if I can put it in the chat. I'm going to try.
The quote is basically describing when you look in water, the face that's mirrored back to you is the face you're showing to the water. If you're smiling, it's going to mirror back a smile. If you're frowning, it's going to mirror back a frown.
We all know that.
Right. And then the corollary is it works the same way with the heart. When you feel a certain way towards somebody, they feel it, whether you're hiding it or not, and you will get the same back. So when you feel like a victim in a relationship, it's look at what you're projecting out. And then Kaylee just added the aspect that it's true that in other places, the Rebbe talks that the word man, the heart of one man to another man, one interpretation, according to Chassidus, the mystical Torah of the word man, is the supernal man, which means God hiding in the laws of nature, God working through the laws of nature, which is really, this is just another quote that supports this idea of how our consciousness creates. When we show a certain face of a certain disposition, an attitude, a demeanor, an emotional resonance towards something, we get back what we are putting out, which there are various verses. I just want to add, there are various verses from different sages that describe, including the Zohar, which says when you show a radiant countenance to heaven, heaven will shine a radiant countenance to you. There are others. Several others that I know, and probably a lot that I don't know. We think of ourselves as being small and helpless victims or subjects of the forces of the universe. And the Torah is here telling us that no, everything starts with you. What you project out, you will get back. Everything is a mirror.
Yes. And not just that, and that mirror is not just between you and that other person. Right? That it's actually now happening on a cosmic level. So I just want to go one more step on this. Okay. One more step on this. So if we go back to Moshe, okay, whose name represents God's power of healing. Okay. And he took us out of Egypt. He is, if we think of someone, if we think of like one of these, incredible beings that represents redemption, it's him, right? So when we think about Geula, we always use this phrase. We're putting the Aleph, we're putting the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, Aleph, which also represents God and one, right? So we're putting the Aleph into Gola, into exile, right? Into being separate from, okay? So when we do that, the Aleph is one. When I make my body one, mind, body, and soul one, I also then become one with God. I create space for that, right? And as we say, I can come face to face with that. My face can reflect that. Okay, I can put the Aleph back in Geula. I experience redemption. And I can tell you it's very hard because conceptually it's like, well, how do I live that? How do I do that? There are steps. You have to go through the steps. For me, what's really interesting about having this conversation today is that it's literally what we were born to do. It's what we are meant to do. That's the part that for me is like, who thinks about that? We don't talk about that, you know? You want to say something, go.
Well, I'm wondering if this is the right time for me to ask you to lay out a few steps to bring it, because this is what you said there. How do we do that? And my thought was that's exactly what you do with people. So you know how we do that.
Yeah. You take my 10-week course, but I can give you a few of the steps.
Yeah, give us a few of the steps without you would take the course to learn them and practice them, but just to know, get a sense of what they are.
If you think back to our last summit, which you guys should also go and watch, right? We did a really beautiful, deep, intense meditation, right? And we connected emotion into the body, right? So the body speaks the language of emotion, okay? Which I'm also going to get on a whole tangent with that because we're in the month of Tammuz. We're in the Hebrew month of Tammuz, which is all water, which is also Moshe, and water is also emotion. Okay. Anyway, so you guys can tell I can do this for days. Okay. So the body stores emotions. We saw that on the chart. We saw that on the sphere. Okay. Different parts of our body are going to manage different parts of us, and the emotions will get stuck accordingly. Okay. So, and each organ, by the way, it gets very, very detailed. It gets very detailed. Rabbi Yitzchak Ginsburg has a great book on this, Body, Mind, and Soul. You can literally, Rabbi Nachman, there's also Anatomy of the Soul from Rabbi Nachman. You can literally go organ by organ on this, okay? So if we know that the body is storing all of our emotions unless we process them in a healthy way, so the body's storing them, keeps getting stored, keeps getting stored, keeps getting stored. We need to have a mechanism to move them out of the body, okay? So one tool that's like super, super easy is called tapping, emotional freedom technique. And it's funny because I would think I like there's a bunch of students of mine on this that I'm seeing, right? And they would probably like, that's not the easiest one. Why is she teaching that? The reason I'm sharing that one is because there are apps today. I mean, this blows my mind. Like, this is where I'm like, yeah, of course this is part of Geula. There are apps today that can just show you how to tap in the palm of your hand. You can get pain relief. You can get anxiety relief. You just open the app on your phone. Like, it blows me away all over YouTube, right? So you want to try tapping, emotional freedom technique. By the way, this is also in Torah. Okay. So there are many, many different ways that, tapping is not like exactly alluded to, but where it's sort of talked about how you want to, like, you can put pressure in different parts of the body to help release certain emotions from the subconscious. Okay. So that's like one example of how we do this. Now I understand that it sounds like, okay, I'm just clearing emotions, but you're doing so much more than that because you are an energetic being. And if the flow in your body is stagnant because of a stuck emotion, then guess what? You're not mimicking the Sefirot, are you? There's no space for that. Something's going to get stuck. Bina is going to get stuck. Chesed can get stuck. Yesod can get stuck. So you want to be clearing that all the time. So tapping is an amazing thing. And it was the first step for me in my journey to health. It was the first step. And I think it's so important because you don't sit down and meditate in the middle of a burning building. If you are in physical pain, if you are suffering and you are miserable, this is not the time to meditate. Meditation is another amazing tool, which we'll talk about. Okay. But why in that meditation, Shifra Chana, that we did together, did I include emotions in the body? Because like I said, emotions are the language of the body. So if I can clear emotions, I can also instill emotions. I can access an emotional state while focusing my attention on a part of my body. I can actually elevate its energy and help create clearing also. Okay. So let's say that we just focus on I'm so grateful for my lungs and my ability to breathe. Or for me right now, I'm so grateful for my mouth and being able to speak and for being able to share these concepts, right? Just having gratitude in emotion, a high vibration, high frequency emotion for my physical mouth is going to elevate its energy, actually. And the mouth, by the way, is malchut, is ownership, is kingship, right? And that's actually different from the chart, but there's so much on this. Okay, there's so much on this. But our mouth is kingship, our mouth is ownership, also the throat, the neck. Okay. So there are certain like rules with all of this that the more you get into them, you can understand them. But without knowing all of that, be with your emotions, be with your feelings, have a space to talk once a week, go to therapy. Like, we're certainly not going into Geula with people walking around depressed, traumatized, stressed out. That's not what is the point of that, right? And the Rebbe was very clear with us that we have to do the work. We have to bring it. We have to do the work. Don't wait around for someone to come save you. Don't. That's not the process. And it's not what we were meant to do. That's why I'm saying you were born to heal. You were meant to do this. And in that process, we create a lot more space for full God consciousness to come in, right? The more of us do it, the more of us do it. And then it's just going to happen. It's just going to happen. But we have to take the reins and do it. So think for a moment, like, how does it feel? I really want us to try to imagine this. Like, I think about Moshe a lot. I connect with Moshe a lot, just in terms of like my learning and being on this journey. Also, Rabbi Sutton is my teacher, and he has so much learning on Moshe.
Moshe is Moses, for those not.
Moses, thank you. Yeah. So could you just imagine for a second, like what it was like? He takes the Jewish people out of Egypt, like a harrowing act. There's so much drama to this story. Finally gets them out. They barely survive this. And like, instead of relief, it's like, they celebrate for a few minutes, and then it's just like frustration and complaining and like, no, this is the final redemption. Nobody is going to hang out while we whine. That is not, we're past that stage. So it's on us right now. We want to heal the body. Heal yourself. Be with your emotions. Be with your feelings. I'm having such an intense experience right now because I don't think I've ever said any of this so directly. And inside, I'm like, oh my gosh, Kaylee, people are probably freaking out. So that's me being with my emotions right now. So I want to know what this is.
I'm curious why you would think people aren't freaking out. People are expressing appreciation and want to know more. But I don't understand why you would be freaking out by talking about these truths. What do you normally do?
I talk about these truths in a different way. And I've been realizing and seeing it more and more over the last few weeks that I think we're past that stage. We're just past that stage. I don't have to help someone like be committed to their relief from physical symptoms. I can just say, hey, it's time for you to be you. So that's what I'm actually going to teach you to do. And in that process, you'll get the relief. But it used to be, yeah, I can teach you how to get relief from the pain, right? Without that other piece, without the rest of it. So so
you've taken it to the level of redemption.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's where we're at now.
That's where we're at now. So in your program, do you, the 10s, I keep focusing on this. Actually, I'm not sorry, but I keep focusing on this because I'm wondering, is it 10 steps or is it 10 sets of tools or 10 tools combined with concepts?
It's 10 weeks because at the time that I first launched the course, which was a couple years ago, I was a not well-known person who wasn't really sure in this field, at least, who wasn't about to convince people to join like a 20-week course. Okay. So that's why it's 10 weeks. I cram a lot in that short amount of time. We have an ongoing wellness community that people continue with so that I can continue to teach the principles and the practices. So it's not that it's 10 steps. It's basically 3 stages. And these 3 stages, I really think I have to sit with it a lot, but I really think they mimic Geula, like they mimic this journey. So the first stage is reestablishing the relationship with the body, right? Which is really what I think so many of us need, is reestablishing our relationship with ourselves, our relationship with God. So why do we do that with the body? Because if for 20 years someone's been experiencing pain, they're not going to be really the body, and they're going to feel betrayed. They're going to be frustrated. And then all of a sudden they're going to say, hey, body, I'm going to ask you to heal. Well, imagine a best friend that you've been estranged from for the last 6 months because they said something terrible that hurts you, right? And then they call and they're like, hey, want to grab dinner? You're not about to grab dinner. You're like, excuse you, like, you hurt me and haven't spoken to me for 6 months to apologize. And now you just want to pretend like everything's okay. The body is in relationship with you. So we start by healing the relationship with the body.
And that relationship, it's the body that needs to come to trust you, or you need to come to trust your body?
Both. And in that process, you can also replace the word body for self. Because if all those years you've been feeling betrayed by your body, then the message you're actually giving is, I'm betraying myself. I can't trust myself, right?
Wow.
Both, that parallel is happening at all times. So we're really healing the self. The first few weeks are rough. Like, honestly, that first stage is rough. It's very emotional. The other tool I'll share is affirmations. And this is like my favorite one to teach, because people always say to me, I tried affirmations. It did nothing for me. Like, okay, cool. Do it with me. We'll see what happens. You have to understand, you have to be able to like really understand how the subconscious works and how you are built, right? You need to understand that map that we just looked at of the spheroid. You need to understand how that works inside the brain between these two ears also. Our subconscious is there to protect us. It's going to put up a wall. If you say something and you don't believe it, your subconscious will just tell you you're wrong. I, Kaylee, love myself. No, you don't. No, but really, no, but I love, no, you don't. Saying, no, you don't. I know that you don't. Stop trying to say that. I know you don't, right? That's what the subconscious is going to do. Okay. Because it doesn't want us to suddenly succeed and grow and be absolutely insanely in love with ourselves and high off of life. Okay. It doesn't want that. Okay. Because that's really scary, because then you're out in the world and you're exposed and you're vulnerable. You're really happy, but to the subconscious, that's scary. Its job is to protect us. Okay. So I teach affirmations.
Oh, okay. The subconscious is making sure that you're taking a rational step every time.
Every time. Stay safe, stay safe, stay safe. Don't go out there. Don't go speak on this thing this week. Who are you to do that? Who are you to do that?
Is this stage 2, by the way? Is this after we rebuild some kind of relationship?
Say that again.
This stage 2 is affirmations part of stage. You said there were 3 steps.
Affirmations is part of stage 1.
Oh,
affirmations is part of stage 1, where we have to rebuild self-love, self-care, self-acceptance, right? Self-forgiveness. We do a lot of forgiveness work. You got to go in. You got to go in and think back to that chart, right? To the spheroid of all the energy centers. If I'm holding a grudge against myself, something that happened 10 years ago, and I haven't forgiven myself, I'm not even talking about forgiving others, myself, how much stagnant energy is there going to be? So if in the next 7 weeks, I give someone the tools to actually heal that symptom, wherever that stagnation is, it's completely pointless if I'm holding on to resentment towards myself in that point, right? So we have to do that. Like, it all builds on each other. So those 3 stages all build on each other. The first stage is the relationship with the self, relationship with the body. The second stage is learning to quiet the symptoms. Again, like I said, we don't walk into a burning building. We don't sit down in a burning building and meditate. Let's quiet the symptoms. Let's calm things down first before we go even deeper. And then the last phase is really becoming the person who can live that healthy life, creating that healthy future and calling it towards you. And you can't step into that when you don't love yourself. Because when I ask you to visualize your healthy future, you're not going to take it seriously. You're going to be like, oh, okay, yeah, no, I saw myself not having to take medication. That is not a reason for the body to heal. But going for a run, having children, having the career of your dreams, starting the business you've always wanted, that's a reason for the body to heal. Let's get more excited there. But if you're not in line with yourself, so can you hear how it's all about alignment. It's all about alignment. It's all about alignment. We're opening the channels, we're getting the flow moving, right? But it's not like we're sitting and doing like energy work to open the channels. You could do that. That will also help a lot. And by the way, there's a whole Kabbalistic system for that as well.
Did you have more to say about affirmations? I just needed to get the step.
Yeah. So affirmations. So basically the key is you have to say it like you mean it. And the biggest block to that is people go, but then I feel like I'm faking it, but then I don't feel like it's truthful. When's the last time you worried about that? Like, you are here to heal. You are here to, again, even if people are watching this and we're not talking about physical healing, you want to be a happy person all day long. When you tell yourself you're stupid, that's a lie. You weren't worried about being honest and truthful about that. So you are going to convince yourself, you know how to act. Everybody does. We all know how to fake it. We've been doing it our whole life. You are going to put on the best acting show possible for yourself. That when you say that affirmation, you say it with so much passion and with so much conviction. You say it like you mean it, like you've never known anything else. And the first few times, most people break down crying, just so that you know, just everybody know, because then you go, oh, I don't love myself, right? I just did a live interview with one of my first course participants from a couple of years ago. Just wanted to see how she was doing, where she is now. It's on my Facebook if anybody wants to go see it. And she had Lyme, very active Lyme, and she very active symptoms. And so she said that she was one of those people that when she started the course was like, I thought I loved myself. I also said affirmations every day, and I thought I loved myself. And then the first time I did it the way you asked me to do it, I just cried. I didn't realize I didn't love myself. And we don't until we have to like really do it. Really, Kaylee, I love myself. Kaylee, I accept myself. Kaylee, I trust myself. Kaylee, I forgive myself. That, like, you could feel the energy. I'm tingling right now, right? And I said it once, and we do it on repeat, right? So when you say it like you mean it, and for the first few times, you're just acting, fine, who cares? So you're acting. 2 weeks later, you believe it and you own it. And it's in every cell of your being, because your cells are also hearing and listening, right? Shifra, you asked such good questions.
Because we need to break through these barriers. I need to break through these barriers.
Have to. And by the way, this is our daily prayers. Okay. So you said we have to break through these barriers. Think about all the things we're asking that we bless God for breaking through.
Right.
Bringing vision to the blind.
Right. Straightening the bend.
Right. I was blind in one eye. When I say that, when I say that blessing, that's real. Like, I feel that, that's really intense, but it's co-creation. If we sit around waiting for it, it's not the process. And the Mittler Rebbe says, like, it's the most compassionate thing that we could be given, because, God forbid something else, car accident, bankruptcy, those things. He's like, that's not there for you to be in process with God. It's an experience that you have to have for whatever reason. Energy is being rebalanced. This is there for you to be in a process with God. How beautiful. I was crying reading that. I mean, this was years ago. Yeah.
Beautiful. So in your own, just to give us a sense of how the experience works, you can use yourself as an example if you want to, even though you said that it took you years and so much hard work and research, and it doesn't take other people that long. And I understand that concept. That's tabuna. When you go through something and you have to work so hard, and finally it integrates into your cells and your brain wiring, and you have that massive paradigm shift, then it's much, much easier for you now, because it's become part of your physical reality to transmit it to others. That's a principle, of cosmic principle. But what was the experience for you? Or if you prefer, choose an avatar student, a real one or a mixture. What does it feel like? Like, if you start doing these things, how did your healing show up? How did it take time? Was it back and forth? I'm sure you understand the question. Yeah, got it.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, totally. So healing mimics most things in life, right? Nothing is like a straight line, right? Healing is not linear. So there's always, a few steps forward, 10 steps back. There does kind of come a stage though, and there did for me, where there were like no steps back. And I just was like, oh, this is happening now. Like, oh,
wow.
and that was the moment where I was like, this is going to happen, because I didn't come into it knowing it would work. I was just experimenting. I was like, I was so desperate. And I was like, okay, I'm going to try this. And so there would be days that I was in horrendous pain, laying in bed, tears dripping down my face from pain. And I would have to be visualizing my healthy future and hold on to that hope and hold on to that vision, which, by the way, is tefillah. That is prayer, is actually visualizing what you want, not just begging. I see it and I see it as real and I know that it's possible. So there were definitely those tough moments, but I didn't know how that was going to happen. I was trying whatever, anything and anything. And so there definitely was a moment where, like, yeah, I kind of things just kind of really calmed down for a while. And I was like, oh, this is really going to happen. Like, okay. And you have to make sure that in those moments you stay the course. Like, that's not a time to stop, your protocol and your practice, and your process. But it was, sorry, I get so excited. So you're asking just like to kind of share like what the process was like. So it wasn't linear. There's always ups and downs because we're human and that's life. It started also with quieting the symptoms, learning to quiet the symptoms. If I could calm down the pain, if I could learn to, in a day-to-day experience, get relief without having to reach to medication. And really at that point, medication was doing nothing for me. So like, what was the point anyways? So I started by just getting relief. And again, it would start at like a 10 level pain, and then it would get to the 8, and then I'd get really good at getting it to a 5. And then it would start to get to zeros. Like I would have days of zeros, and that was incredible. Right. So in that process, I started to learn, and that was almost primarily through tapping. In that process, I started to learn that each symptom was communicating something. Each symptom was feeling a pain, was feeling an emotion, was processing something from 2 days ago, was processing something from 12 years ago that I had no idea was in the picture. I didn't know it was there. I was not a person who was in touch with my feelings. Let's start with that. I was not in touch with my feelings. Okay. I was very shut down, and very guarded, very much protected my feelings. I believed that crying was weakness. So I had to learn how to emote. I had to learn how to be with my emotions and be with my feelings. And it's so interesting because one of the biggest points of pushback I get from my most observant Jewish clients is actually when it comes to emotions. Like, we're not supposed to be sad, but I'm not allowed to be angry. I'm not supposed to be angry.
About that in the last call, exactly that.
It's so crazy. It's so insane. And remember how we talked about it's all a hologram, right?
Yeah.
Well, God has those emotions, and we openly talk about that. God has emotions. God has reactions to things that we do. But so why, if I am made in the image of the creator, divine, all that is, I'm not supposed to have an emotion? I should shut that down. So, I mean, that's how I believed, right? But
that was a stage. That's a scafia. That was a stage of training the human part of that, training the animal soul, training the body, suppress things and do what you have to do. Don't let things get in your way. So that was it. What at one time, what is at one time the holy, or is it what is at one time your ultimate level becomes the barrier that you need to break through when it's done, when it's the time for the next thing. So now we're in from Hiskafia, from self-suppression, discipline, holding back, we are in the stage of Hisabcha, which is transformation, to take the darkness and turn it to light. Yeah. So that's what it makes sense that you had that journey.
Yes. And many people today are, and we're seeing it generationally. So again, we see that in the individual. You see that as a generation. You see that as entire generations. And it's almost going the opposite direction, right? Where like everything is like super emotional. And it's like, okay, let's continue. Get it together. Let's get some perspective here. So and I have a huge range of clients and like ages. So I'm like, I do opposite things with each one,
Right.
But and it's again, because we're coming into balance with those emotions. So I had to learn to feel my feelings and learn that I was safe while feeling my feelings so that it wasn't getting stuck in the body. The nervous system, if I'm scared of an emotion, the nervous system interprets that as I'm being chased by a lion.
Yeah.
That's just the bottom line. Like, so it doesn't know I'm just scared to cry. It's like, oh, she's being chased by a lion, and literally changes every organ and every cell the way it functions in the body. If you do that all day, every day, disease will develop. The body can only sustain so much. So that's the other thing that actually you're making me realize. I know I'm in the middle of kind of describing the journey, but I wanted to talk about this earlier and I forgot. We look at illness as if like it just appeared all of a sudden, and it doesn't. It develops over time. And by the time it shows up as a symptom, we have to understand that that's just a massive being out of alignment. So we have moments along the way where there's little hints, little clues. Okay, wait, I can course correct here. I could adjust here. And we don't. We rarely do. Like most of us are walking around, like I said, traumatized and not feeling. That's how most of us are walking around. I was there. Okay. Didn't even know I was traumatized, by the way. That's how dissociated I was. Didn't even know I was traumatized. I was like, oh, wow. Yeah. Growing up with illness was not as peachy as I make it out to be. So we have these opportunities along the way to course correct. And when we don't, and the more that we ignore them, then the body can only sustain it for so long. Physically, that's just our physiology, but on a much deeper level, spiritually, because God is saying, I want to be with you. I want to be close to you. I'm really trying to be close to you. Please hear me. I just want to be in this relationship with you. And that's really hard when we're in pain. Like, I can't listen to you right now. Like, I got to call the doctor. I got to deal with the insurance bills. And ultimately, what is true goal, what is true freedom is knowing it's not about any of that. It's quieting all of that and saying, I'm going to get quiet and be with my body. And that's really that stage of meditation that it's really a tool, but it's one of the most important things you can do. The deeper you go in meditation, the longer you're in meditation, if you can hit really, really high states, you actually change your nervous system.
Mm.
And that's not random, because anyone who has a regular, consistent meditation practice, the more quiet you get, the more space there is for God, the more you start to hear your own intuition, the more you get beautiful ideas. You get more creative, new insights come to you, you feel calmer in your life. That's the divine, right? That's the divine. And so when that starts to happen, and you can get quieter, you start to realize like, oh yeah, okay, none of that really matters. The medical bill, the this, that, the other thing, I will deal with it because I'm supposed to build a dera b'tachtonim. I'm supposed to create a dwelling place for God here. So I do want to be good at the physical, but the best way to master the physical is being in my body right now, with my body right now, because my body is actually a reflected image of the divine.
Where do you think the resistance comes from, both in terms of being in our body and even more in terms of being with our emotions? I think there's some, I'm asking like beyond like, oh, I'll feel ashamed or I'll feel this or that. It seems to me that there's an intrinsic resistance to stopping and connecting and holding and digging into the things that we've, just shoved under the rug or whatever. Do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah. And I love how you asked it, because it's like, yeah, let's take that conversation deeper. It's weird to say this, but part of it almost feels like survival, in the sense that when I'm real with my emotions, I could feel very exposed. Right. And so when I'm exposed, like anything could happen. Also, like, think about it. Like when we were having to be in survival mode all the time, like, I don't have time to be sad if there's a lion that might come after me. Now, at the time, at that stage in human history, there wasn't a lot of time for sadness. So emotions meant something different. So I think part of it is just like this intense vulnerability. I think more than that, is, well, there's kind of two things coming to me. One is it's an immense responsibility. It's an immense responsibility. When I can face myself, when I can be with my emotions, I know my capacity and I know who I am. There's not excuses. I don't have any excuses. Like I'm being real and raw with who I am in this moment right now. I'm being raw. And the more we are raw, the more we face ourselves, really we expand. It's just profound. The more we expand, the more responsible we have to be. You know,
we don't have, we don't have to, though. We do have a choice. It's just that we don't, even that is an illusion. We don't have to, but there's something more here. No, I mean, you're going deeper with it. I appreciate that. There's something more that I can feel, that there's something more to it.
I don't know how you can't be. Like, you don't have to be, but I don't know how you can't be. Like, you know, Ani, who you just spoke with, right? She and I always have this joke, is like, don't you miss the days when like you could just be like completely dissociated and like just like, instead of telling someone how you actually feel, just pretend to get mad about something else. Like you just like would make something like, no, I have to be real. I have to be honest. I can't just, there's no excuses anymore. I have to just say, hey, this really hurt me, or I messed up here. I can't pretend anymore because I'm not that person anymore. I can't just walk around like that anymore.
It's not that you can't. It's not that you can't. You could. It's that just that your field of vision got bigger, and you want to be whole, and you're on the track to wholeness, you know, and to godliness. So to revealing that. So you're choosing. I mean, I hear that as a potential obstacle, but it feels like something, and there's definitely something there, but it feels like something even more, like we build up, we're wired to build up this elaborate construct of heavy duty limitations and stories and stiffness and, you know, identity block. Everybody knows what this is like. And really, you know, and a little bit of us operates within that, bumping against the obstacles, getting discouraged, going back to hiding in that little corner inside that construct. And in fact, we're, you know, when you experience a breaking through in some aspect of that, even as a one-time, you know, experience, you at least get a glimpse of that there's something vast that is that is you. But it's not you. Like another way to try to express this, sometimes when I go into meditation or prayer and I'm seeing things and experiencing things, when I get to that place of the deeper self, it does not feel like a bigger version of this self. It doesn't even feel like a much, much bigger version. It feels completely different. Like it doesn't have tendencies. It's quiet. It's like not doing anything. It's really hard to explain, but I mean, that might be part of it. I don't know. Maybe it's just the way God set us up also. I've heard this thing about how we in olden times, we had to have the survival thing. And I'm sure that that's true, but I don't think it started with Cain and Abel or Adam and Eve even.
Yeah, 100%. There's some kind of shame there. And I'm not really sure, like the piece that goes back there. Obviously, we know how we're programmed in this generation. I think that that's sort of like a more obvious discussion. But if we go deeper, like,
does it hurt to feel things? I'm asking. I mean, I've gone through processes many times, but I still have a resistance.
Emotional pain is way worse than physical pain, I think. And I see that. And I think many of my clients would agree with that, right? It's way worse, but that's why we go through it. I still would prefer to deal with the emotional pain, or we think it is. We're scared that it's going to be worse. So like, it's kind of a value proposition. But I think there's also an aspect, Shifra Chana, again, we can talk about it from the point of like, we have all been programmed this way to not feel, to not be individual beings. We've been programmed this way from a very, very young age, and not in a subtle manner at all. But if we take the conversation deeper.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's kind of scary. It's like we all think we'd want to have a heart-to-heart with God, but that's kind of terrifying. Like, I think there's maybe a fear of like the overwhelming power of just realizing our own power. And it's, if you watch children, I love this, like they just go for their emotions full force. Like, it's not like they're upset, they are screaming with like every fiber of their being, you know, they cry with their entire beings. They laugh with their entire beings. Like, they just sort of go for it without anything holding them back. And I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of sitting with this with you, but there's something about,
to me, it feels like a big pile of, like, it's not like I'm not afraid of it at all. I've done it many times. I'm not afraid of a heart to heart with God at all. Like, thank God I'm past those things. This is things I've done, but still, if I look at taking it to another level, the idea of, you know, when I'm thinking about your course, I'm thinking, oh, forgiveness again. I don't want to do that. And it's not that I'm afraid of it. Something feels like eating rotten food, or I don't know. It just feels, or like more like having to take a shovel and go to another big mound of dirt and just, it feels like hard, like not fun, like, and I'm just wondering if that's just me, if we all have a stop in it, you know, again, it could be the intrinsic wiring. Sorry, what?
we all have that because it was hard the first time. So we're telling ourselves it's going to be hard again. And
It's annoying. It's draining. It's stops you from doing the things that feel good. Whatever. I'm putting it on the table here.
Oh, it's good. On the other side, though, it feels so good. Like,
yes, it does, which is why because I know that. And a lot of people here know that. I know the feeling of freedom and how amazing it is. And I've many times broken through that. So why is there still an aversion? That's what I mean, I don't think anybody necessarily here knows the answer, but I still have to pose the question, what is the payoff of not doing it the next time? What is the doing it?
I don't know if this is like too simplistic of an answer, but I wonder if it's just klipa. I wonder if it's just saying, this is just coming to get in my way so that I don't get to have the light that's going to come from me being on the other side of this, so that I don't get to have the expansion that will come through this. So I'm going to look at that klipa and say, not today. You don't get to take over today. And I'm going to go into this experience, the pain of it, the whatever of it. I don't know. Maybe that's too simple, but
maybe it's not. Maybe
that's
it's
what
just
I'm thinking.
intrinsic wiring. It could be, because it really doesn't make any sense. It's like maybe there's a dragon at the gate.
Right. You're right. It's illogical, actually, meaning,
yeah,
if you're just starting your journey, it's logical. But once
exactly.
we're in it for years and we know how good it feels on the other side. So I'll tell you, my husband and I have a daily practice. We do forgiveness every day. Mm-hmm. with describing what we're asking for forgiveness for or not. We come to each other, we say, I'm sorry, forgive me, thank you, I love you. We do it daily, even if we don't explain what we're saying it for. And it's still so hard. Like, every time it's like, okay, I can do this. Okay, I can say this. It's like, yes, I want to do this. And it's so powerful to be in the practice. And yet every time, like, there's not one time exactly. Yes. Ho'oponopono. Yeah. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I just hate saying it because I sound ridiculous when I say it. Yes. Ho'oponopono. That's what we do. So he has a really interesting background. And so he learned that long ago and taught me the practice. And Shifra, it's like, we both know how to do this work. Still, I'll cry over it, like the smallest thing, like nothing may have happened, but like asking forgiveness, forgiving someone else, like these things. I don't know. You're right. You would think that by this stage, it would be the opposite, that the system would have learned.
Yeah.
It feels so good afterwards. Let me jump in.
It doesn't even feel so bad during. Once you're into it, it's fine. You know, it's just so you're, it's like something like being dragged out of a certain paradigm, maybe. I almost feel like a donkey, you know, with the feet in the ground. You're not pulling me there. You're not pulling it. I just think I feel like there's something here. I will explore this after the call, actually. I don't know what that is. I don't know if the most likely thing is that it's an intrinsic, you know, the Zeitouni said that it's the other side having the power. It's like a God power to keep you
For,
to hold
for
back from that
sure,
next
the
step.
balance, to hold the balance. I definitely think there's a klipa aspect of it. And I also think that you're right. Like as we expand, it doesn't necessarily suddenly get easier. The things that used to be hard, they get easier. You don't even notice. But
Right.
you're at the new level. And so it's like, well, yeah, you did the forgiveness on the small stuff. Now it's like, what about the bigger stuff? You know? So
Yeah, it's also like step by step, you know, it's maybe it is that subconscious thing also. Like there's, and part of it is positive even. I think like how much letting go do you go, how much letting go of the identity do you do in one shot? And how much processing and reconstitution do you need to do after a particular step? And that's not all of it. That's part of it. I don't know if this is even interesting to anybody else.
I know. I mean, I love it, but I'm like, well, and so I think it's both. I just want to answer you that I think it's both. I do want to say that, yeah, I mean, it's both. It's a process. It's like a step-by-step process. And then some of it is like the reconstituting, some of it just like it happens. And then some of it is a step-by-step. I think it's a combination. And I think it's also like comes back to what we were talking about before, like this is what we came for. So on the one hand, you think like, so I'm aligned with my purpose and mission. Isn't that amazing and incredible? Well, if it was going to be amazing and incredible, we would have done this 20 years ago. If it was like so obvious, it's hard because God is hidden. It's hard because I have to constantly remember and come back to, right, I'm part of the divine. Yes, God lives in me. So it's okay to face forgiveness again. And I'm safe and I'm loved and it's going to be okay. And like, you have to kind of coach yourself through it, because even when we are us and talk about God all day long, he is still hidden. There's still that aspect, which is also why when it comes to something like illness, and I just want to kind of like go back there for a second, because it's just so important to me to make sure that we've like really made this point, which is why when we talk about illness on the surface, it's so painful. And it is, guys, it really, really is. You know, I have so much compassion for this. And it's also why like it's very hard for us to see it as, oh, this is about relationship with God. This is about becoming my best self. This is about connection and alignment and growth. Like how beautiful, right? How do we, right? And so that's the hardest part. And that's where like you were talking about, like, what are the steps? And you said this really profound thing. And I don't remember exactly how you said it, but it's one thing for us to go through. It takes us years, and then everyone else starts doing it quicker. It's like, one of the big aspects of that is once you've figured it out, then you can help guide someone. Yeah. In the process of being people like us, you're just like, I'm trying to figure it out. I spent years figuring out. Now I figured it out. Now I know the system. Now I can pass it on. Right. But when you're the one figuring it out, and then also you are there to guide that person when maybe you didn't have that. Right. So for me, one of the biggest things that I think moves the needle for someone is having the coach, having the guide alongside, because you can have weeks where you've mastered the pain, the symptoms are easing up, there's relief, and then all of a sudden it starts. And you're not in a place, you would think that on the surface, the logical response to that would be, oh, okay, well, I was just pain-free for 3 weeks, so I'm totally fine. I can totally do this. I nailed it before, I can nail it now. I got this. I know the process, I know the system, I know this is just a misalignment. I can get into that, I can be with myself. No, we feel like we're starting back at square one. We panic, we freak out, we're upset, we're annoyed. I don't have energy for this. I don't want to do this. And that's where we sort of need someone to be there and say, you can do this. It's part of the process. You're in this and you're not alone. And I think that's, and this is coming up for a reason. And here's why it's coming up, right? It's sort of like, but it's like similar to what you're saying. Why
yeah.
This again?
Yeah, exactly. You're making the right noises. It's like a gravity. I'm just thinking now, it's like, okay, you exercise a certain number of times a week. And then, you know, if you lose momentum and go on vacation, it's really hard to start again. How come? You already know the benefits. You already know the feeling.
I know.
I'm thinking, I still don't get it, but there's a gravity. There is a gravity. Yeah. I don't fully get it. There's a gravity to our old ways of being that is a powerful force. And I guess, you know, again, we have to bring desire our passion, our commitment, a new part of ourselves, our new connection
Yeah.
with God online to break through that gravitational field. It has to be
Yeah.
for that, but it's still, I guess that's the free choice thing. How great do you want to be? How expanded do you want to be? Or are you willing to be? How miraculous?
And how much do you want to be in conscious connection with God?
Yeah.
Because that
How
fear
much you want to be conscious altogether?
is the hidden part. What?
Okay, how much you want to be conscious altogether?
All
You
that.
not always want to be conscious.
That was the talk. Thanks, guys. How much do you want to be conscious? I do just, obviously I'm seeing the time. I'm here with you. But I just want to say, like, did I make the point? Because this is the first time I've said it in these ways and like gone through it like in the details of the Torah perspective. Do you feel, Shifra, Chana, and do the people here feel like, did we make the point that like, it's literally your birthright to heal and you were born to do that? Like when illness comes up, like that's what you're born to do. And that's also what the world needs. That like, it needs us to do that. I'm not sure if I made that point, and it's just really, really important.
I think you did, but let's take a poll.
Okay.
Kaylee, make that point. Does anybody not get that? Yes.
Okay, good.
I thought it was clear.
Guys.
Okay, it was there feel free to recap the core points. That was the core point.
Yeah. So yeah, no, that's a good idea, Shifra, Chana, and maybe also I'll be able to hear it for myself in a different way. So really, ultimately, what we're seeing is that we're this energy being. We were made in the image of God. And when we're conscious of that, when we're conscious of this flow in our bodies and making sure we're keeping that flow open, when we work with these parts of ourselves, then we create that shift. We mimic that shift globally, cosmically, for the person next to us and in the supernal being, right? In God. That happens with God. We are changing, and there we get to come closer to God and to come face to face, right? The way our own face reflects on water, that's how we get to come face to face with God. And the piece of this that is so crucial to understand is that healing, the name of God for healing, I should have brought that out, but I didn't find that online, but I'll grab that for you guys before we're done today. It's Mem He Shin. It's the same name as Moshe, of Moses. Okay, it's the same name of Moses, who is our model of redemption, is our model of freedom and overcoming limitation. Okay, so healing, that way of connecting with, and by the way, when you talk about the name of God, I just want to point this out. There are 72 names of God that you can meditate on them. If I can turn around, I don't know what you guys are going to see if I turn around this camera. Also, I'm connected to so many cords right now. So hang on, it's the window. Sorry, that's very bright. Can you guys see this? It's the back.
Kaylee's office. It's very pretty.
This is my office. Thank you. So each of these paintings is highlighting like different names of God. Each of those are 3-letter names, and they each have different powers. They each have different energies. So for example, you're having a hard time with time management, go find the name of God. That's about time. Call that to you. Be in the energy of that. Like, let's access the divine, So, and the Kabbalistic masters know how to use these in many different ways. So thanks. I'm seeing the colors and the art. It's my husband. It's really cool. Our whole house is just all of his work.
Does he have a website? Does he sell his art? I'm sure he sells his art.
He does sell his art. Right now, the website is all Spanish and in Mexico. So we're starting from scratch. But if anybody emails me, we at this point have a Dropbox. I can send you the Dropbox. He is on Etsy. His name is Adam Bezalel, but I think on Etsy it's Adam Bezalel Art. But feel free to message me. You could just email hello@kayleyz.com and we'll get that to you guys. Really fun stuff, really special. So why am I bringing this up? Because if you're wanting healing in your life, you can use that name and just meditate on it every day. Put it on your body, put it in your body. Your body is a cosmic battery that was made in alignment with God. And that name not only is for healing, but literally represents Geula, literally represents redemption. So of course, as we near the full and complete revealed redemption, we are going to all start healing, as the Rebbe says. There's going to be spontaneous healing. We're not going to see illness. But how do we get there? We have to start doing it on our own, right? We're not here to just hang out and wait. It's just going to happen. It will happen spontaneously as we do the work for it to happen. So the more each of us does it, others will do it, right? And it's going to get easier and easier and easier. Our last class blew my mind. I mean, it blew my mind. What happened in weeks usually happens in years for people. I was in awe, like 3 weeks in, this woman going, I've been in pain since I was 12, she said. And she said, I haven't, there's no more pain. She's working out for the first time in her life. She told me she never held her own children.
Wow.
Like mind blowing. And like, we weren't even halfway through the class, it's not me. It's just the system.
Creating a field. You're tapping into a field. Yeah.
It's a field. Exactly. We're tapping into the field and the time is now. So, and it's happening faster and faster and faster. So we have so much more access to it now. So I just want to make sure that I'm reiterating that point, that the time is now, it's happening now. In a matter of days, people are just going to be spontaneous healing. So you can access this and you can start the practices for yourself. And that helps the next person and the next person and the next person. But the practice is connecting with God on a very deep level, facing yourself, your truth on a very deep level. You are not here to be the lawyer. I'm sorry, you're probably a great one. You're not even here to be like the best mom. You are here to be and to be in connection with God, to see the divine in your life, to experience the divine inside of you. Okay, so that is the key, the absolute key. And there are many ways to get there. I have my system, but there are many ways to get there. But that's what unlocks healing. That's what unlocks healing. And then we mimic it. It just becomes a mirror everywhere around us, right? Kamayim hapanim becomes a mirror around us. Okay. Thanks for letting me reiterate.
That was great. Okay. So, wow. So tell people more about how they can, we have your, you're offering your book, and
yes,
I'm assuming electronic copy and $100 off of your class.
Yes.
For free, people who sign up underneath this video. If it's not, it is on your page already. I saw it before. So
is it? I don't know, but yeah.
It is. It's
okay, great.
Yeah.
Great.
So everybody should click that and get a lot more of what we've already started to open up.
Yeah.
And then, do you do your classes periodically? Like you start at a certain date and then you wait for the next one?
So it's interesting. I only do them a couple times a year. This is really unique that I'm doing it again so quickly because we just had one, but I just felt really moved. And I will say it's probably my last one, if not my second to last one, because it just, as you know, it takes so much to put on a live course. And my whole life is changing, and please God, starting a family and everything. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to redo things. So we've already started rebuilding a whole new system where people can still go through the steps. It just I won't be live, but I'll still be teaching all the practices, but it's all going to be automated. So this is really the time to do it live. We start Sunday. It's really.
You're starting a new one now?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
10 weeks starting Sunday.
I'm assuming they're recorded if people can't make the.
Yeah, we have a membership site. People can go get all the recordings, all the replays. So if you use the two things, first of all, okay, let's back up. So my website is kayleyz.com, and you can click on the course there. But remember that you get the $100 off. So what we're going to have to do.
Hang on. So people are asking where you get the free Kaylee's free gift of the book and the $100 off coupon, or however that's arranged, is right under. It's on this page that you clicked her picture to get to this Zoom. So it's underneath that.
Perfect. Okay, that's perfect. So what I'm realizing,
she's in New York. Sorry.
I was in Israel for many years. Now I'm in New York. Thank you. So so when you click that on the page that Shifra is describing, you get subscribed to a list. You will automatically get a free book that tells a lot more about my journey, my story, the ins and outs of it. And you also get a ton of other information in that book. It's really, really a powerful book. So you get that. It's a free PDF. then you get $100 off the course. So now how do you get to the course, which I really should have included on that page, on that link, but okay, we'll send it to everybody who subscribes, because if you go to the link for the course, you're going to pay full price. So you do get $100 off through Shifra Chana. Thank you. Please thank her for that, guys. So if you want to learn about the course, just go to my website. And if you're ready to sign up, just let us know and we'll send you a special link with the $100 off. But just to play it safe, once you subscribe, we'll send an email to all the subscribers and send you that special link. Highly recommend you join us. We'd love to have you. Yeah, and if you want,
once a week for 10 weeks on Sunday. At what time?
Yeah. Twice a week from Sunday, twice a week. Oh yeah, we go all in. It's amazing. It's a lot. It's great though. So every Sunday for 90 minutes at 12:30 p.m. EST. Every Wednesday there's a Q&A. So we go over there's homework, there's practices, we kind of feel them out. How's it working? Let's customize it. Let's work with it. That's Wednesdays at 4 p.m. for an hour. You have a Telegram group for your cohort. Everybody supports each other. It's really special. You have a Facebook group with all of the alum. They're cheering you on. It's really amazing. It's really last minute, but if anybody joins in the next hour or so, you get to be in the meet and greet with our alum who will guide you and give you tips. But we save everything. Everything's recorded. You have all the replays. You get to log into the membership site with all kinds of cool materials. You also get fun goodies in the mail. We surprise you with things in the mail. Yeah. Well, because healing it involves all of us. I want your home to be filled with everything about healing. You have to see it all around you, right? To be in the hologram of it. So you see it, it becomes real to you. So we make sure that you also have stuff like that in your home. So yeah, come join us. Especially it has a different meaning now to kind of be present in a new way, knowing that I'm not probably going to teach live forever. So, but hopefully I'll get to do these all the time, because Shifra Chana, this feels like, in preparing today, I just was like, it feels huge. And also it's like, we're just beginning. There's so much to do here.
Yep.
And you also deserve a break. but
yeah.
I mean, listening to Rabbi Anava, listening to Rabbi Sutton, I'm like, we have to just all keep having these conversations. This is what people need to know. This is the only thing we should be talking about right now. And everybody needs to be talking about it. And just so much more you are giving. This is such a gift to the world. And I'm almost shocked. I'm like, how has no one done this sooner? So thank you for finally being that person. This is exactly what we should be talking about. That's it. This is the only conversation anymore. Really, really.
Thank you. So you guys, I'm going to ask you again. I know a lot of people have been have already shared. I've shared with a lot of, just up it. Okay. Try to think of 5 more people.
Please. We're changing the world. This is so important.
The summit is, as you know, gateofunity.com/summit #4. I'll just type it in.
Yes. Yeah. Oops. Wow. Shifra Chana, I love our conversations.
Yep, me too. That's why we're sitting here together.
I love it. So powerful. I'm just going to pop a couple more things in here. Actually, if you guys just sign up, I see all the questions. If you guys just subscribe through the link that Shifra Chana described, you'll have a way to message me. It'll give you everything. You'll have our email. You'll be able to ask any questions there that you need. So,
and do you still work with people privately?
Yeah.
You do. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. All right.
So thank you so much. Thank you. And I want to thank all of you here, all the participants, because you are the vessel for us sharing this. In the very beginning, not many of you were on, but I told you, Chana, you have no idea how many forces tried to get me to cancel today. And I just kept saying, no, this has to get out. We have to talk about this. We have to talk about this. I'm overcoming these challenges. So thank you, because all of you are the vessel. Thank you for being here, for being the space for us to get this out. Thank you. This was seriously, I feel like I possibly have lived through all the things I lived with to be able to have this conversation. I'm not exaggerating, because how could I have known how to have this conversation if I didn't go through all of that?
100%.
It's an honor. It's a responsibility.
We are in the final unraveling of all of the, if you've ever seen a poison ivy vine or something wrapped around a tree choking, or snake,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, we're unwinding that. And
we're
through the things that need healing, that the body expresses, or the emotions mean, even emotional illness is expressed in the in the body.
100%.
So the rectification of the body makes the body a vehicle to allow God and the soul to create. Without nothing creates without a body, except for God himself. But God has a body. It's the multiverse, and he's creating it because he wants to create.
It's multiverse. It's multiverse. May we merit to see the full, revealed, and complete Geula now, right now.
Amen. 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 Okay. Take care, everybody. See you tomorrow.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.